Welcome to another edition of Chalk or Not. This week we're focusing in on UFC Perth, which is headlined by a light heavyweight matchup between Carlos Ulberg and Dominic Reyes. But for this segment specifically, we focus on the chalk or not spots. And again, by definition, for me, chalk is anything at minus 185 or wider. And for this specific card, out of the 14 fights, only 7 of them are considered chalk. So I'll go through those fights for you guys and whether you guys should either play them straight, parlay them, or look to avoid the matchup completely. I'm going to do my best to help you guys navigate some of these chalky spots. All right, let's get right into it. First matchup of the night, we got Alexia Thainara coming in at minus 235, going up against Lookboonmee. I feel like this will be even more of a coming out party for Thainara, who had a dominant UFC debut, which she took on short notice against Molly McCann back in March. She was able to compete with her in the striking realm and eventually get a takedown, work to a submission and forced a tap from Molly McCann, and that became the 8th submission victory in 12 total pro wins for Thainara. Lookboonmee might have a little bit of a striking advantage, but I don't think Thainara will get muzzled by that by any means. And I think we'll see Thainara successfully get this fight to the ground and eventually work to a dominant position to get that finish. And I think she's chalk-worthy at minus 235. Next up, we got a very low-level heavyweight matchup here between Brando Pericic, who comes in at minus 220, going up against Alicia Ellison. I was really expecting this fight to be, if at best, maybe minus 130 to minus 150 either way after I did the studying. So when you saw my reaction that Pericic was minus 220 in this spot, I laughed immediately. Both guys very low level. Both guys, their lone defeats in their MMA record comes from a second round submission because of exhaustion from both guys. But early on in fights, they are very dangerous with the power that they possess. I'm going to go with the Ellison side of things, though, as I believe that he's a little bit more athletic, a little bit faster, and a little bit more powerful, but he also has the ability to take this fight to the ground effectively if he needs to. Both guys have a gas tank issue, so I wouldn't completely trust either side, but I know for a damn fact that I'm going to put Pericic in the not chalk-worthy category. Next up, we got Michelle Montague making her UFC debut, coming in at minus 210, going up against Luana Carolina. There are some weight things to consider going into this matchup, specifically with Montague, who competed her most of her amateur career at 155 pounds. She started moving down to 145, where 5 of her 6 pro MMA fights have taken place. And now with no 145-pound division in the UFC, she's being forced down to 135 pounds. So we definitely have to watch what she looks like on Friday on the scales. And then on the flip side as well, Carolina has had multiple weight issues at 125 pounds, and she's being forced to move up to 135. Now, Montague, 6 wins, 6 rear naked chokes, and she should absolutely be able to do that here against Carolina. My big issue is if she can't get the takedowns, Carolina is the better striker, and if Montague works too hard for these takedowns, maybe that weight cut causes her to slow down sooner than she is used to slowing down. And that's where Carolina can start to take over as well. So, tough one to call. I'm a big fan of Montague. I'm a big hater of Carolina, but based on the odds here, I'm going to have to put Montague in the not chalk-worthy category. Next up, we got Navajo Stirling coming in at minus 235, going up against Rodolfo Bellato. Bellato may have a little bit more experience against tougher strength of schedule, but I believe Stirling is the better overall MMA fighter. Not just as an overall fighter, but specifically with that striking game, I expect Stirling to pick Bellato apart and eventually find that finish within a round and a half. We've seen Bellato get hurt and nearly put away by numerous fighters in the past, but this fighter specifically in Stirling can match what Petrino was able to do against Bellato and eventually find that big shot to put him away. Thus, I'm going to put Stirling in the chalk-worthy category. Next up, we got Jake Matthews coming in at minus 400, going up against the veteran Neil Magny. Magny last time around showing us that he can at least survive certain spots on the ground and come back and still pull off the win like he did against Elizio Zaleski. And I'm expecting Matthews to take a bit of a grapple-heavy approach in some of these instances. I'm sure we'll see Matthews still look to mix it up in the striking, but for him to have true success and look minus 400, he's going to have to get Magny to the ground and look for a submission. But we've seen Matthews slow down later on in matchups, and that's often caused him some issues. And Magny is a guy that's going to use your cardio against you and really put his foot on the gas in deep water. That's why minus 400, it's a little bit tough to trust Jake Matthews. He should win this fight, but I won't trust him at minus 400. Thus, I'll be putting him in the not chalk-worthy category. All right, next up, we got Jack Jenkins coming in at minus 280, going up against Ramon Taveras. Tough one for Jenkins here, even though he finds himself as a big favorite. I think he is the better all-around mixed martial artist. He has a good calf kick. He has a good grappling game. His striking is not all that bad either when he really mixes it together and, starts feinting the calf kick and getting his opponents to bite on it. The issue here is, and the issue in his last fight was that he was fighting a southpaw. And anytime Jenkins tried to change his stance to try to get off on his calf kick, Gabriel Santos met him with a combination down the pipe that forced Jenkins to go back to his primary stance. I don't think Taveras will be as successful as Santos in terms of making him pay for those stance switches. And I think that Jenkins could actually have more success in this fight with his takedowns and really mixing in the rest of his striking game. But Taveras is a solid boxer. The guy has clean, crisp, and fast combinations, and that might cause Jenkins some issues here. If this ends up completely being a stand-up battle, Jenkins might be in some trouble. I'm picking Jenkins to win, but it's tough to trust him at minus 280 against a guy who's such a good boxer. All right, that brings us to the main event now. The last chalky spot on the card, we got Carlos Ulberg coming in at minus 250, going up against the streaking Dominic Reyes. Now, Ulberg is looking for his 9th straight victory after only losing his his UFC debut, showcasing a good all-around game here. He even pulled off a submission against Da Woon Young a couple fights back, but mostly he looks to chip away at his opponents with his disciplined striking approach. He should be successful in doing that here against Reyes, but we cannot overlook the knockout power, the speed, and athleticism of Dominic Reyes, which has provided this career resurgence for him in recent fights. After he went on a 4-fight losing streak, he's managed to bounce back with 3 straight victories, all of them by knockout. And it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up catching the chin of Ulberg at some point here. But I think it's going to be Ulberg who does that. I think he's the one that ends up finding the chin of Reyes and putting him away, but I can't trust him at minus 250. Reyes has his confidence back, and it's at an all-time high, and with the belief in himself, he is more than capable of pulling off the upset here. If the line widens somewhere, I wouldn't mind taking a little bit of a shot on Reyes, but at the current line, I'm going to put Ulberg in the not chalk-worthy category because I expect this to be much closer of a fight than the odds indicate. There you guys go. Chalk or not for UFC Perth. I'll be back tomorrow for the quick picks version of the UFC Perth breakdowns and probably the PFL Europe breakdowns as well. Got a very busy week on the YouTube channel, so if you haven't already hit that subscribe, make sure you guys do so, and then hit that notification bell so you know whenever I drop a new UFC segment, UFC breakdown, or any of the regional events that I cover that I drop on the YouTube page, you'll get notified for that too. All right, I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Peace.